Have you ever felt like you are working hard but life still feels heavy, as if something invisible keeps slowing you down? Have you ever wondered whether the real blockage is not only outside in circumstances, but inside in the way your mind keeps carrying old weight? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about a teaching that sounds simple and almost too practical to be spiritual. Yet it touches the deepest Buddhist themes: karma, cause and effect, compassion, wisdom, practice, destiny, and awakening. The idea is this: when life does not flow, there are three kinds of places you should visit often, not because the place is magical, but because the place drains your heart and mind in a way that clears what Buddhists call karmic obstacles, the habits and residues that keep creating the same suffering again and again. Some people hear the phrase clear karma and imagine a ritual that erases consequences overnight. That is not how the path works. Karma is not a stain you wipe off with one action. Karma is the momentum of causes you have been planting for a long time, sometimes with your hands, often with your mind. But the good news is also very Buddhist: momentum can be redirected. When you repeatedly place your body in environments that strengthen wisdom and compassion, your inner habits change. When inner habits change, your choices change. When choices change, your road changes. That is destiny turning without superstition. Let me tell you a story that will carry this teaching into something you can feel. There was a person named Mira who used to describe life with one word: stuck. Not always in obvious disaster, but in the slow, painful way that feels like pushing a cart with one wheel broken. Plans collapsed at the last minute. Relationships felt tense even when there was no clear fight. Money arrived and left in waves, never stable. Health was not terrible, but energy was low. Mira would wake up tired, then blame the day, then blame people, then blame fate. And after enough months of this, Mira began to believe a dangerous thought: maybe I am just unlucky. One evening, Mira visited an older neighbor who had lived through hard decades and yet carried a calm face. The neighbor was not rich, not famous, not flashy, but the home felt warm. The neighbor moved slowly, not from weakness, but from steadiness. Mira asked, "How do you stay so steady when life is hard?" The neighbor did not answer with motivation. The neighbor asked a question that sounded almost strange: "Where do you go when you feel lost?" Mira shrugged. "Home, work, the same places." The neighbor nodded and said, "That is part of the problem. When the mind is trapped, it keeps visiting the same inner rooms, the same worries, the same resentments, the same excuses. If you want your life to move, you must move your mind. And one of the most direct ways to move the mind is to move the body to certain places that reshape your heart." Then the neighbor shared the teaching: when life does not flow, go often to three kinds of places: a place of dharma, a place of suffering, and a place of nature. Not once, often, because karma is not cleared by one dramatic day. Karma is softened by repeated practice. Mira listened politely, but inside felt skeptical. "How can a place change my destiny?" The neighbor smiled and said, "A place does not change destiny by itself. Your mind changes destiny. A place changes what your mind practices." The first place Mira visited was a place of dharma. It did not have to be a grand temple. It could be a quiet meditation hall, a community center where people practice mindfulness, even a small corner of a home set aside for silence and reflection. But Mira chose a simple local temple because the atmosphere immediately changed the nervous system. There was a feeling that people were not competing. There was a feeling that the air itself was slower. At first, Mira expected fireworks, a message from the universe, a sudden blessing. Instead, Mira encountered something more honest, the sound of their own mind. In the quiet, all the noise appeared: regret, anger, comparison, fear of the future, harsh self-talk. The temple did not remove these. The temple simply revealed them. And this was the first clearing of karma, not a miracle outside, a mirror inside. Mira sat for 10 minutes and felt restless. The mind kept saying, "This is pointless. I should be doing something productive. This is boring. This will not pay bills. This will not fix relationships." The mind sounded confident, but it was just habit. It was the habit of running. A monk walked by and said something simple: "You do not have to win against your mind. You only have to know to sit and return. Return to breath. Return to posture. Return to awareness. Return again and again." Mira did not become calm instantly, but Mira felt something rare: a small gap, a tiny space between thought and obedience. That space is awakening in its earliest form. When you have space, you can choose. And choice is where karma begins to change. Mira began visiting the Dharma place weekly, then more often, listening to teachings, sitting in silence, watching how the mind creates suffering. Over time, Mira started behaving differently. Less impulsive speech, less panic spending, more honest apologies, more patient listening. These changes were not mystical. They were causal, and the results were also causal. Conflicts reduced, mistakes reduced, trust increased. This is how blessings arise in Buddhist terms, not as luck falling randomly, but as stability growing from cleaner causes. But the neighbor said there were 3 places, not one. The second place was a place of suffering. This one surprised Mira. Why would I go to suffering when I already feel burdened? The neighbor explained, when you only live inside your own problems, your mind becomes narrow and heavy. It becomes a room with no windows, a place of suffering, like a hospital, a nursing home, a shelter, or any environment where people are facing real pain, can open the heart in a specific way. It does not erase your struggles. It puts them into perspective and transforms self-fixation into compassion. Mira volunteered at a local care home. Nothing dramatic, just showing up, helping with small tasks, listening to elderly residents talk about their lives. At first, Mira felt uncomfortable. The smell of medicine, the slowness, the fragile bodies, the reminders of impermanence. The mind wanted to escape because impermanence is scary when you have been living as if time is endless. But then Mira met a woman who smiled every time she saw sunlight through the window. The woman had pain in her body, yet her attention was soft. She said, "When you are young, you chase so many things. When you get older, you realize one kind word is more valuable than 100 trophies." That sentence went into Mira like warm tea. In the weeks that followed, Mira noticed a strange shift. The mind became less obsessed with being right, less obsessed with winning arguments, less obsessed with proving worth. Because in the face of real suffering, the ego looks small, not in a humiliating way, in a liberating way. You realize you can let go of nonsense. This is another kind of karmic clearing. When compassion grows, you stop planting certain poisons. You stop planting cruelty. You stop planting selfishness. You stop planting petty conflict. Instead, you plant generosity, patience, and kindness. Those seeds ripen as better relationships and a calmer mind. Even if money and external circumstances do not change overnight, your inner world changes. and the inner world is the root of many external outcomes. Mira also discovered something most people do not want to admit. When you help others, you quietly repair your own sense of dignity. You stop feeling useless. You stop feeling cursed. You feel connected. Connection is a medicine. The mind that feels connected is less desperate. The less desperate mind makes wiser decisions. Again, cause and effect. But the second place also taught Mira boundaries. Compassion does not mean drowning in other people's pain. Mira learned it to help without absorbing everything. That is wisdom. Wisdom plus compassion is the Buddhist balance. When you have that balance, you do not burn out. You become steady. Steadiness is a blessing. Now we come to the third place, the one that sounds simplest, a place of nature. The neighbor said, "Go to mountains, rivers, forests, parks, any place where the world is not built by human anxiety. Nature is not holy because it is romantic. Nature is holy because it teaches the truth without words. Leaves fall, water flows, seasons change. Nothing clings to being summer forever. Nothing takes insult when winter arrives. Nature practices impermanence perfectly." Mira began taking short walks in a nearby park. At first, the mind came along with all its worries. But then Mira noticed something. In nature, the mind cannot maintain the same intensity forever because there is too much simple reality to witness. The sound of wind, the pattern of light, the feeling of feet on ground, birds moving without story. These details pull attention out of rumination. This is a powerful karmic shift because rumination is one of the biggest factories of suffering. People think suffering comes from life events. Many times, suffering comes from replay. The event happened once. The mind repeats it 100 times. Each repeat is another planting of stress. Nature interrupts the repeat. It invites presence. Mira started sitting near a tree for a few minutes after walking, just breathing, watching thoughts arise and pass. Mira noticed that thoughts are like clouds. When you stop chasing them, they move. When you chase them, you get dragged. This is the essence of meditation. And here is the secret: some people cannot meditate in a room at first because the mind feels trapped. Nature gives the mind a wider field. It makes meditation easier. It makes return easier. Return is the practice that changes karma. Over months, Mira began to feel life moving again, not always in dramatic winds, but in a softer flow. Sleep improved. Arguments decreased. Work became more focused. Friends felt safer around Mira. Opportunities appeared because Mira was not constantly radiating panic. People trust calm. People trust honesty. People trust someone who does not explode. These are the invisible blessings that look like luck to outsiders. One day, Mira returned to the neighbor and said, "I do not know if my karma is cleared, but I feel lighter." The neighbor said, "That is clearing. Karma is not only an external score. Karma is the momentum inside. When the momentum becomes lighter and kinder, the road opens." Now let me bring the teaching directly to you. If life feels blocked, do not only try to think your way out. Thinking is often the very wheel that is stuck. Instead, begin visiting these 3 kinds of places often, even if only for a short time. A place of Dharma, to train wisdom and see your mind clearly. A place of suffering, to train compassion and break the cage of self-fixation. A place of nature, to train presence and accept impermanence without panic. Do not treat these as superstitions. Treat them as environments that shape practice. Practice shapes karma. Karma shapes destiny. And let me add one deeper point. These three places are not only external, they can also be internal. The Dharma place inside you is the moment you pause and return to breath. The suffering place inside you is the moment you allow your own pain to be met with compassion rather than shame. The nature place inside you is the moment you stop forcing and allow life to flow through the present moment. When you can access these internally, your whole life becomes practice wherever you stand. Now we are coming to the end, and I want to leave you with a closing reflection. Many people wait for luck to arrive before they change their mind. Buddhist wisdom suggests the opposite. Change your mind and your actions first, and luck begins to look different because your causes are different. A blocked life is often a life where the mind has been visiting the same inner rooms for too long. The way out is not only a new plan, it is a new practice and sometimes a new place. Thank you for spending this time with me. I want you to share your thoughts in the comments. When you feel stuck, which place helps you most? A quiet spiritual space, a place where you serve others, or nature? And what shifts inside you when you go there? Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay with this community. Your support helps keep these long teachings alive and helps more people turn daily struggle into wisdom, karma into compassion, and a blocked road into a path of awakening. Until next time, keep your heart kind, keep your mind clear, and remember, when life feels heavy, go where your mind learns to become light.